This is a wastewater treatment pond which is very heavily alum dosed. So much so that when we first came to site there was so much sludge in the pond and on the surface that we had difficulty actually putting the dredge into position with a crane. We had to find an area where there was a break in the sludge. The depth of the pond is about 1.5 meters and we're looking really to remove at least 1 meter of that sludge. We have to cut it quite carefully to ensure that we have enough dilution water, so when the dredge comes forward he won't be just taking a bite full of the solid sludge, he'll be trying to mix in water at the same time. The dredge sucks up the sludge from the base using the cutter head, removes it via the floating pipe through the on-ground pipework to the dosing tent where the appropriate polymer is added, and then it goes onward towards the tubes which dewater the sludge. Choosing the appropriate polymer is so important to the success of these projects. It can mean the difference between a tube full of water and a tube full of very dry solids. Once you've got it, you then have to make sure that you shear it into the pipeline and then it's dosed appropriately into the different tubes. This is a live sample from the dredge after it's been dosed with the polymer. We monitor this from time to time to see how well the sludge is being flocked by the polymer, whether there's appropriate dosage, and this material is going directly into the tubes. So this is an older bag that's been pumped several times before and we're just doing the final top up. You can see that still with the appropriate dosing of the polymer you can get a clear filtrate coming out here. The water, as you can see, is coming out very clear. Water tends to come out of the top of the tube and as it comes out so it filters down to the seam and finds its way out. The dredge is pumping at between 3,000 and 5,000 litres per minute, and the fabric, as it gets older, is more reluctant to release the water. Brad is just going to hit the bag to accelerate the water coming out. As the water starts to flow, you just get a clear filtrate coming out. And of course, the quicker we can get the water out of the tube, the better. It means we can get more sludge in, and obviously more sludge means more tonnage of solids that we've got out of the pond. To look at this is fantastic compared to what we saw in Brad's jug earlier. That's obviously the material that went in, and now we can see just how dry it is. This material will continue to dry as the tube ages, and the client may decide to leave this for several months before they get rid of it. And it could be used for soil improvement, or if there's any contaminants then it may have to go to landfill. The longer they leave it, the more dense it will become, and obviously the volume of any carting costs will be reduced. This side is going to require at least 20-25 tubes. At the moment we've got 8 tubes out at various states of fill, and to maintain the dredge works we need to open up more tubes. Tubes are made of a high tensile strength polypropylene fabric. Each of the tubes will be pumped many times, 10-15 times, until it's reached its final capacity. Then you'll wait a certain period of time, maybe a month, maybe 2 months. You can allow it to sit there and dewater, and then the contents will be removed and taken away. The last time we were here was about 3 months ago, and the job then was just sort of starting. We were contracted then to remove about 400 tons of the sludge from the pond. The job has expanded to 700 to 800 tons based on our performance. You're now looking at 45 tubes out here on site, which is a colossal number. It indicates the amount of sludge that was in the pond. These tubes are at various stages of fill. The one I'm standing on at the moment has been tested, so that's been offline for about 6 weeks. These other tubes where you can see the pipes and the manifolds, they're still in operation, and we're winding up the contract this week and they're on final top-up. As a contractor, we tried to get in as much sludge as we can into the tubes, but they've also got to be efficient. They've got to let the water out, otherwise it's too difficult to pump into them. We've used our standard tubes here, which are the ones that the client prefers. Tubes can be made of different lengths, different widths to suit the contract. This is a longer tube and a wider tube, and if we'd known the contract was going to be of this scale, we probably would have used more of these larger tubes. What we're trying to do before we leave site is to leave all the tubes up at the maximum level and then demobilize. You can see that the surface sludge has been removed really down to the bottom since we've had an extension of the contract. The operator is removing the sludge in the bottom 500, which is very heavy and which needs a bit more dosing with the polymer. When we came here 3 months ago, the pond was full of sludge, and we've managed to get that sludge into these tubes, maybe about 800 tons. Had some issues with a very heavy alum dosing, but we've overcome those issues, and that has resulted in that pond having a new lease of life.